Hey guys, what's up? I'm Sloth and welcome to the first episode of my Overwatch guide. Today I'm going to be talking about hero roles and what the jobs are. Hero roles are split into three categories: damage, tanks and supports. First off, let's talk about the damage heroes. The main job for a damage hero or a DPS hero is, as the name implies, to deal damage to the enemy team. You can fit them into two smaller categories: hit scan and projectile, and then loosely fit them into smaller subcategories. I'm not going to name all the heroes in each category, but I will give you an example for each. Starting off, you have the flankers, such as Tracer or Genji. They usually die pretty quickly if they're not moving, so if you're playing a flanker, make sure to be as annoying as possible while as safe as possible. Their role will be to do bursts of damage and apply pressure to the enemy backline. This will cause two things to happen. Either the enemy backline will die, or cause other enemy heroes to peel to support them, relieving pressure from the front line. Each will give your team the advantage in the fight. Next, you have the aerial denial heroes such as Junkrat, May or Symmetra. They'll try to prevent the enemy team from occupying an area of the map by making that area as dangerous as possible to pass through, whether that be a choke, an objective, or a high value area of the map to create space for the rest of the team to operate. Finally, you have the medium and long range heroes, who will try to control high ground, which is super important, as it makes it easier to do damage while avoiding damage from the enemy team. These heroes are the snipers, Widow and Hanzo, but also medium range heroes like Soldier and McCree. Like I said, they loosely fit into these categories. For example, you can put Reaper into a flanker role, but he can also be utilised as a heavy tank buster, so don't hate me if you think I'm talking utter nonsense. Damage heroes generally have low health and high damage, so try not to die and stay close to your supports. Not only so they can keep you alive, but you can keep them alive from the annoying flankers. Moving on, we have the tanks. Now, tanks control the tempo of the game and how the fights progress, as they have much larger health pools but much lower damage. Their abilities are also designed to provide safety for the rest of the team. Tanks like the DPS are split into smaller categories. You have your main tanks and your off tanks. Main tanks are Reinhardt, Winston and Orisa. They don't do as much damage as off tanks, but they do block a ton of damage from the enemy team. They're the ones who control the pace of the fights and how the fights feel. Off tanks do a lot more damage than main tanks, so they're a little more hungry for kills, but they do also provide other useful abilities to help the main tank and to take damage before the lower health heroes of your team. The off tanks are D.Va, Zarya and Roadhog. Now, you may have noticed I've left Wrecking Ball out of either of these categories, as you often find that he can be sometimes played as a main tank or as an off tank, depending on the composition you are running and the map you are on. If you've played in competitive or even just quick play, then you know that if you don't play a main tank and an off tank, or at least one of them, then it's pretty bad and your team forgets how to stay alive more than about 5 seconds. So try to flex onto the role if your team needs one and you're able to. There are certain tank combinations that synergize really well together. These include the brawl tanks Reinhardt and Zarya, the dive tanks Winston, D.Va and Wrecking Ball, and finally the bunker tanks Orisa and Roadhog. As brawl tanks, you want to play on maps that are close quarters due to not having any range or mobility. They want to play further forward to press the enemy and be in their face as much as possible. They want to focus the enemy front line and any heroes out of position. Dive tanks should be played in more open maps with high ground and play a little further back, and jump in during the engagement phase of the fight and play deep after that. Focus in enemy supports or low HP targets as their easy picks. If you're playing bunker tanks, however, these are usually map dependent picks and generally used on the defending team. You will want to set up in an easy controllable area such as high ground above a point or a corner with no flank routes and only play aggressive in the cleanup phase. Last but certainly not least is the support heroes. Support heroes are the ones that try to make up for the fact that somebody did something stupid by healing them up and providing useful abilities to keep teammates in the fight. Supports have lower health and lower damage, so don't fight very well, except maybe Brigitte, who can often be played in DPS role. As a support, you should be in the backline or playing close to your tanks and DPS. As they're the ones who keep the team alive during the fight, they're usually high value targets to eliminate first. Supports, like tanks, are split into two smaller roles: main supports and off supports. Main supports include Mercy, Moira and Anna. Their primary goal is to keep teammates alive rather than the other things they can provide in a team fight. Main supports will want to position themselves in a safe location, whether that be behind cover or near an ally where they can provide healing safely and take little to no damage. Off supports, on the other hand, which consist of Zen, Lucio and Brig, are way more concerned on the value they provide outside of healing, whether that be Lucio's speed boost or Zen's Discord orb. The off supports generally try to keep the main supports alive, but they are also more inclined to play closer to the tanks as they provide usefulness outside of healing. So like the tanks, you generally want to have one main support and one off support, or at the very minimum at least one support on your team. That's all for today's video, so if you liked what you saw, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video again. I'll see you all later. Peace!